Okay, so today we're going to talk about solving quadratics using the quadratic formula, which you may or may not have gone through in your Algebra 1 days. So that's our learning target. So again, we've been solving quadratics, and really a reminder that we're still just trying to find where they cross the x-axis, right? Again, that's what we've been doing this whole time, and there's lots of different ways to solve quadratics, some more useful than others in different situations. Okay. Now, the quadratic formula, if you remember, if you have your quadratic function and it's set equal to 0, that's important, it's got to be set equal to 0 first, then the solutions are right here. This is your quadratic formula. It is x equals opposite of b, opposite. So you're going to change the sign. If it's negative, make it positive. If it's positive, make it negative. Opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a. There are lots of songs tied to that to help you remember it. And you see all kinds of different ones, but it's maybe one of the most famous mathematical formulas. So again, as I said here, it's really important that you set it equal to 0 before you use the quadratic formula, or it won't work. And remember, a, b, and c are your coefficients. They should just be numbers, okay? All right, so how does this work? Well, step 1, move everything to one side, set it equal to 0. We kind of said that right away. Then your a, b, and c, once you've identified those, make sure that then you're plugging into the appropriate place. You're going to simplify everything underneath the radical sign, and then you'll solve. You should have 2 answers for all your problems. Okay, here we go. We're going to try this out. Okay. All right, so in this case, it is already set equal to 0. I don't have anything to do. So 3 is a, 12 is b, and c is negative 96. Make sure you don't forget those things. The signs are really important. If you mess that up, you will get it wrong. So just be aware of that. Take your time. Make sure the right signs. Okay, so I'm going to follow the formula. It says x equals opposite of b. b is 12, so I'm going to write negative 12 here. And this might be the only place where you don't really need to put things in parentheses. Everything after this, you should put it in parentheses, especially underneath the radical. Okay, I'm just gonna do that. Okay, so now b squared, so again, this should be in parentheses, 12 squared. Always in parentheses, everything here from here on out. 4 is part of the formula, that will always be there, times a is 3, times c, which we said was negative 96. Okay, I need to extend that a little bit. Okay, and then all over 2 times a, and once again, a is 3. Okay, so that looks pretty crazy. We've substituted in, that's our a, b, and c, that's step 2. Step 3 is to simplify everything underneath the radical sign. This is, square root sign is also known as a radical, okay? So what you're going to do is simplify everything underneath here, okay? So in order to do that, actually, all you have to do is use your graphing calculator and type it in just the way you see it right there. So in this case, it's 12 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 96. So I'm just going to type that in there just how I see it. So let's do that. Okay, pull up my calculator, and I'm going to go 12 in parentheses, squared. Their square button is right there on the left, minus 4 times 3 times negative 96. Now this number goes underneath the square root symbol, so that's 1,296. So this gives me x equals, now I'm going to copy the rest of this, 12 plus or minus the square root, oops, of 1296, that's what we got now, over, and then if you want to simplify this right now, you can too. 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, now I need to figure out, you're still going to go, what does this equal? Now you're going to do the square root of 1296. So square root of 1296 is 36. Okay, so I have negative 12 plus or minus, this is now 36 over 6. Okay, so I need to figure out what my answers are, right? So I have two answers. One is going to be negative 12 plus 36, figure out what that is, and then divide by 6. So negative 12 plus 36 divided by 6. I mean, maybe you could do that first if you wanted. And then negative 12 minus 36, make sure you hit enter there and then divide it by 6. Okay, so you might not write that whole thing out, but I'm just going to kind of show you this one time how that works. So negative 12 plus 36, negative 12 plus 36, you want to hit enter here, and now you're going to divide it by 6. So that would give me 4. Okay, so this is 4. And then here, negative 12 minus 36. Hit enter, divide by 4. If you don't hit enter after that top part, you got to simplify the top before you can divide. If you don't do that, you'll get it wrong. So negative 12. So this is negative 12. And maybe you don't, like I said, probably a lot of times you're not going to write this right here. You just kind of do that on your calculator and only have these two things right here. And so these are your answers though, and this is one you want to make sure you have two answers when you do all these solving quadratics. Okay, sometimes you'll get one, but just expect two. Okay, all right, so now really that's it, and all these are going to be the same. The only thing that can really trip you up is maybe the very beginning if it's not set equal to 0. So then you just need to get everything on one side and set it equal to 0. So in this case, I got to get this 18 to the other side. Well, the only legal way to do that in math ways is to do the opposite. So I'm going to add 18 to both sides. Now this gives me negative 2x squared minus 8x. Now I can't combine this with either of these because they're not like terms. So I'm just going to put it on the end. I'm just going to go plus 18 equals, and now this is 0. Those cancel out. So now it's set equal to 0. Now I can do my quadratic formula and set it up. So that's what I would do. I would say, all right, x equals opposite of b. B is negative 8. So I'm going to write positive 8 here. Plus or minus. Again, the first one, if you don't want to write it in parentheses, you don't have to, but the rest of them, you better. Okay, so now this is negative 8 squared. Notice the negative 8 goes in parentheses. You're going to square that. If you, again, make sure that's done properly or your answer will be wrong. Minus 4 times a times c. So remember, you're looking here to find your a, b, and c. Don't go accidentally look up here. Okay. All right, and over 2 times a. Okay. So now I'm going to type in the stuff underneath the square root symbol and see what I get. You can even start writing this out if you want. All right, so negative 8 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times 18. Negative 8 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times 18. Again, I'm just typing it in the same way I wrote it. I get 208. Okay, so this is 208. And then this will be -4. Okay, so now let's see. What is the square root of 208? It's not super nice. So we're going to round to the nearest hundredth, so it's 14.42. The next number is a 2, so I'm going to leave it. So let's see. This is x equals 8 plus or minus 14.42 all over -4. Okay, and then I'm going to figure out what my two answers are. I'm going to do 8 plus 14.42. Hit enter, and then I'll divide by -4. Divided by -4 is -5.605. So we're around the nearest hundredth, so that would be 61, -5.61. Okay, now I'm going to do 8 minus 14.42. Hit enter. Hit enter, and we're going to divide by -4 again. Okay, and again, round to that would be to the nearest hundredth would be 1.61. Since the next number is 5, go up 1. And these are my two answers. Again, this would be where they cross the x-axis. And hopefully that makes sense. I'm not going to go through the whole one on this one, but I just wanted to point out that with this one, you could move these both to this side, or you could just take this and move it to this side. So let's say I just said, I'm going to move this one to this side. In order to do that, I would go minus 2x squared, and I would go minus 2x squared, right? This would give me 0. This should go first because it's your x squared term. Remember, always in standard form. So this would be -2x squared minus 16x plus 27. I can't put these together with either of these because they're not like terms again, but I want them in order from highest degree to lowest degree. Okay, so that starts with the squared term and then work my way down. So then it would be in standard form. And now this is A, this is B, this is C. So take your time with that. If you wanted to move these to the other side and go from there, you'll end up with the same answer. So however you want to do that. And then just apply the quadratic formula. Okay, so let's try a word problem with this. Remember, word problems sometimes work a little bit differently. All right, so a person standing close to the edge on the top of a 200-foot building throws a baseball vertically upward. And the function h of t, which would be height as a function of time, is equal to -16t squared plus 64t plus 200. And that models the ball's height above the ground in feet t seconds after it was thrown. How long does it take for the baseball to hit the ground? Now, one of the advantages to the quadratic formula, while it's a little bit longer to do sometimes, it always works. Completing the square doesn't always work. Graphing doesn't always work. Solving using square roots doesn't always work. Completing the square always works. So that's the nice thing, is it does take a little bit longer, but it always works. So you have that as a benefit. So if you're really not sure, it's a good one to just go with if you're not sure. All right, so now I'm going to use this quadratic formula. So opposite of B, so 64, I'm going to do the opposite. That'll be -64. Okay, and B squared, so 64 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A, -16. Okay, so let's see here. we're going to go 64 squared. I might need to write that down so I don't forget. Okay, let's do it. So 64 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 200. Ooh, is 16,896. Now once again, I might simplify this right away. That's negative 32. Okay, square root of that, square root of 16,896. Round to the nearest hundredth would be 129.98. Okay. All right, so I'm going to figure out what these two answers are. I'll do the plus version, plus or minus, so I should have two things here. Maybe see what we get. All right, so negative 64 plus 129.98 divided by was negative 32. Okay, so I get negative 2.06. Okay, now let's do minus. So negative 64 minus 129.98. Hit enter. We're going to divide that by negative 32. I get 6.06. Okay, so now the question was, how long does it take for the ball to hit the ground? Now, we did X, right? But it really stands for T, right? Our X is T in this case. So X stands for time in seconds. This doesn't make sense. This is negative 2.06 seconds before it hits the ground. So this is not going to work. So now we're actually talking about starting from 0. Okay, in the context of this problem, we're starting at 0 seconds and moving forward only. So my answer then has to be 6.06. So I'm going to say that, but I'm going to use my units. So how long does it take to hit the ground? It would be 6.06 seconds. This is what I'd want to say for that. Okay? And that's how you use the quadratic formula. Yet another strategy to solve quadratics. Okay. So you have an assignment on the quadratic formula. Write it into your planner and then check it off once you've turned it in. Good luck.